Hey everyone, I know it's been a hot minute since I've done any spirit interviews. I actually have been buying dolls, but I haven't been really doing the interviews. I did ask earlier tonight if there were spirits that were ready, that wanted to be bonded with the dolls, and my pendulum swung back and forth so hard it almost hit me. So they're really tired of me messing around. So we're going to be starting up the spirit dolls again. We're going to have the spirit interviews. And then also this is the month of October, so we're going to have the Halloween series where every week I address a new type of paranormal type thing that goes on. Also, check out the website. I am updating things. The Salem Willow Witchery, that's being updated. The dolls are being updated, and there is stuff that is going to go up on my eBay store as well, so keep an eye on that. Okay, so we're going to start with this doll. I mean, very well preserved doll, very beautiful doll. It is porcelain, like pretty much all of it's porcelain. Even the body itself is porcelain. It's a little tiny doll. She's very pretty. It's a Kathleen Staten doll called Chocolate Covered Cherry, and in excellent condition. No staining, no eyelashes are all there, hair is in perfect order. I mean, this doll is like practically pristine. The spirit that wants to bond with this doll, they told me that their name is Sophia and she goes by Sophie. Other than that, I have no information about that spirit. So why don't we start the interview and we'll talk to Sophie and get her story. Sophia is from St. Augustine. What time period are we talking? She said 1740s. Now, is 1740 the year you were born? Is 1740 the year you died? Okay, how old were you when you... she's young. She's young. I want to say like maybe mid-30s. Am I... more to the late 30s. I want to say 30, it's 36, right? 36 is when you died? Okay. She does kind of resemble this doll. She has very dark hair, and it's such a dark brown that if you're in the sunlight, you see that it's brown, but if you're inside, it looks black. My father had hair like that. She has dark eyes as well. She's skinny. She's on the skinny side. So, okay, so 1740 was the year you died. I'm trying to think back on St. Augustine history. So this was still during the Spanish period. So her dark looks do make sense. She is very light-skinned though. Like, she did not spend a lot of time outdoors. I feel that she's not dressed well. So she was probably a servant. What's wrong? Here, get some food. Eat your food. So she was a servant. She was a household servant. What street? Now, you lived in the servants' quarter of the house, right? You didn't have a separate place. So you lived at the house where you served at. Okay. What's on Ribera Street? Was it to the north or the south of the plaza? To the south of the plaza. So Ribera Street on the south. See, I don't do the walking tours here. Was the person that you served pretty well known in the town? Okay, so it's not a person of like great renown, like that would go down in the history, like they weren't like the governor or like one of the founders or of like almost like a dynasty of like, you know, merchants or something like that. For that time they did have money, and they would be searchable in records if she were to give me the name, and you know, I could go back through the town and find them. But she's not saying that they were like really famous in the town or whatever. You know, they were just citizens that had money to, they were like they would be considered upper middle class today. So they weren't rich, but they had enough to. How many servants were in the house? There were. Did they have a stable? So, because I'm seeing like a teenage boy, like, I don't know, like maybe 12, 13, somewhere around there, that was like the stable hand. And there's her. I feel that she was a maid, and I believe that they had a cook. Did they have like a butler? No. So it was the cook, you as the maid, and then like a stable hand. And that was it. There was just the three of you. Okay. When did you start working for them? I mean, did you like start off like as a teenager? Yeah, because that's how it usually started. So did you spend like your whole, pardon me, did you spend your whole time with that family? Okay. Tell me about you when you were born. So you guys were like in a shack by Maria Sanchez. So when I say Maria Sanchez is a creek here. And it actually extended a lot further than back then than it does now. When Flagler was building his hotels, he actually filled in a lot of it. And I think, now you know current day St. Augustine. Is it where one of the hotels is now where you used to live? Which side of King Street did you used to live on? Did you used to live on the south side of it? Okay. Because that was the poor side of town, really. There were a lot of shacks around there. And I think I remember hearing that there used to, like, it used to flood, like, a lot. Almost like, you know, like the Nile. You hear about the Nile, like, floods over its banks every year, and just like, I mean, just a huge flood. And then when the waters recede, it actually makes the soil more fertile, and that's why people would farm around the Nile. And it's something like that, except that like they had like, it was like thrown together shacks, like one room shacks, thrown together shacks, because they were all poor. And they had dirt floors. You did not put wood floors down, because the wood floors were warped, because there would be standing water inside of your house. And what she's showing me is that when you built the house, okay, I'm trying to think how to do this. Okay, so when you built the house, the walls were not flush with the ground. You built them, so like you had like two like supports on either end, and then you built the wall in between, but you left like what, like maybe like 2 feet, like a foot. So you left like a foot of open space between the ground and where your wall started at the bottom, because Maria Sanchez Creek would flood a lot, and it would flood into your house. So you did not build your houses flush to the ground, even if you did have dirt floors, because your house would be ruined if you did that. So they built these up a little bit. And if you ask why they would, you know, why they would stay there were, you have to understand, St. Augustine was under attack a lot by the English, and by the Native Americans. And then towards the later part of the 1700s, the Americans had taken, Georgia was part of the colonies, and then the Americans from Georgia were coming down here. So they had the British, they had the Native Americans, they had the English, I mean the Americans. So there were all kinds of, finish up. It was always kind of under attack. So they basically had to build fortifications around the town. Now at that time, the fort was just built. The big stone fort was just finished. But that still meant that the town, yeah, you could go inside the fort and be safe inside the stone fort, but your town would still be blown up. You'd have nothing to come back to. There'd be no shops, there'd be no homes, there'd be nothing if you didn't have fortifications. And they did have fortifications. They had fortifications around the city. So there was only a certain amount of ground they could build within those fortifications. So the port side was by the side that flooded. So yeah, they could build outside of it, but that meant that they were more subject to raids from Native Americans, more subject to being killed and all this other stuff. So it's like a rock and a hard place situation. So now you kind of like understand the mindset of what was going on and why it seems like so stupid to do that, but you didn't really have a choice. That was the poor section. Every place else, I mean, it was very allocated in here, inside the fortifications. Space went to basically the best places went to the highest bidders, and then the poor people lived wherever they could, which was right next to Maria Sanchez Creek, which flooded. So that brings us back. So tell me about your life. She's showing me her father with straw. What did he do with straw? I mean, they were some kind of like artisans, I think, that they were weaving. And when I say straw, I'm not talking about hay. I'm not talking like bales of hay, like in a stable. Like almost like okay, so anybody that's ever been to, and we have palm trees all over the place, but anybody that has ever been to like a Catholic or a Christian church on Palm Sunday, you have like those like really dried palms. They're like, or actually some of them are still green, and then they dry up and they're like that beige color, and they're still flexible, and you can make baskets, and that's what people do. They make baskets and purses and stuff like that. That's what they were doing. They were taking the palms, and they were taking palm tree bark, and they were making stuff that, you know, baskets and all kinds of stuff with that. And that's how they would sell it on the plaza, right? Because that was the marketplace, the plaza. So they would sell these on the plaza, but it's a very hard scrabble type of living. She had two brothers, right? Two brothers. And like three sisters. Three sisters. Okay. Now, how many of you made it to like adulthood? Two sisters. That's two sisters beside you? Okay. Two sisters beside you made it to adulthood. Neither of your brothers made it? So both of your brothers died. Okay. She's saying like when she was like 14, she started working for this family. Now, did you ever get married? You did. Was he a full-time soldier at the fort? What did he do? Was it like a livery type of service? So he worked for somebody else as basically carriage for hire. Okay. All right, so to explain how things work here. She showed me her husband. Her husband was wearing military clothing. So this is how things worked in St. Augustine. Basically, everyone was required to register for the militia. Everybody had to serve. It was like a forced National Guard. Everybody had to put in 1 week at the fort because there was a contingent of soldiers, dedicated soldiers in the fort, but it was a very small contingent. These were paid by the Spanish crown. These soldiers were paid by the Spanish crown. Every male that lived in St. Augustine had to put in service 1 week a month at the fort. It was non-negotiable. They were not paid for this because they were a part of the community. This is what they had to do. And there was no equivocating on this. So most of the soldiers here, yeah. So when you ask, were you a soldier? Yeah, everybody here was a soldier. Every male that lived under the Spanish crown was a soldier. But they were also regular citizens. So most of the soldiers that lived here also were printers, painters, builders, carpenters. They worked on ships. They were fishermen. So everybody was a professional in another profession, and they did their civil service once a month at the fort. So that's why I asked her if he was a professional soldier. That meant that he would have been paid by the crown. So when I asked if it was a livery service, back in those days, there were stables in town where you could hire carriages and drivers to take you places. And I'm not just talking about around town. You could hire somebody to take you to different towns, almost like a stagecoach. You could hire them to take you out to the outskirts to some of the citrus farms. So he worked as basically a livery driver, something that we would equate to a taxi driver today. Stop that. So that's what she's telling me. But she's telling me she got married in like her 20s. But she stayed living at the house. She only got to visit with her husband, I think, 1 day a week, and she didn't get to spend the night. Did you get to spend the night when you got to? So you had 1 day, basically 1 day and 1 night, and that was on a Sunday, and you had to return by Monday morning. Okay. So, like, Sunday morning, you could leave the house, you attended church, you went home with your husband, you spent the rest of your day with the husband, and then Monday morning, you had to be back at work. Like at the crack of dawn, she had to be back at work. Did you have any children? So what I'm getting is she got pregnant a couple of different times. I'm sensing like at least one miscarriage. 3 miscarriages. Sorry, 3 miscarriages. And then I feel like she had a baby, but it didn't live for long. So did you have any surviving children? She did. She's hijo. Hijo. I think that's Spanish for son. Calm down. You're okay. So you had one son. Did he survive to adulthood? Yes. Okay. Did you get... Where did he stay? Did he stay with you at the house? Okay. Okay. So he didn't get to spend too much time with his father. Okay. She's saying that her husband died when he was 40. No, I'm sorry. Stop that. Don't you bark. 40. I want to say like 42, 43, somewhere around there. How old were you at the time? Did you guys die at the same time? So your son was orphaned? Her son went to live with her parents. Her parents were still alive. Her son went to live with the parents. You died at the same time. Were you... I feel like there's a sickness. Were you sick? There was some kind of... So something was going around. I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of attacks of yellow fever through here. I don't know if 1740 was one of those times. Was it yellow fever? No. I think it was like smallpox or something. Like, because I see like marks on her. She's showing me marks. So I don't know. It might have been. I mean, people have died from chickenpox. It could be chickenpox. It could be smallpox. It could be measles. Measles, I'm thinking, might definitely have. I think, yeah, it might have been an attack of measles because they did not have vaccines for measles back then, so it definitely would have been deadly. And she is showing me red marks. I haven't heard of attacks of measles in St. Augustine, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So now, okay. So what do you want to get out of being bonded and going to somebody's home? I mean, is there something special that you want? Do you want to be able to do certain things? She wants to be a home guardian is basically what she's saying. She's saying that she wants the security of a home, and in return to it, she would bring peace to everybody inside that home. So if there's like a, so if something is getting tense, if there's something going on, what she would do is like step in, intervene, and try to like adjust everybody's auras to calm down, is basically what she's saying. And kind of like help diffuse the situation. So she wants to be a peacekeeper inside of a home, and she wants to create a peaceful home for everybody in there. All right, so Sophia, is there anything else that you want to say? She's saying that she would be pleased to find a home that wants her in it. She loves children. She would love to be in a home that has children in it. She is like, what I get from her, she's very docile. She's very peaceful. She does not like shouting, anger, and she kind of like despises that. So she would do what she can to keep that from happening. And if it does happen, then to diffuse the situation. She's the best way, and it may seem weird for me to describe it like this, the best way I can imagine her, like kind of like how she would be, is like the gentle hand, like the gentle hand on your shoulder. Just, it's okay, settle down. Or like stroking your hair. She's very motherly, but in a almost like a beatific way. You know what I mean? Always has a very like sweet small smile on her face. Never says anything unkind. She's like one of the beautiful people, basically. So is there anything else that you want to say? Y'all done? Okay. Alright, so that is Sophia. Keep an eye on the website. She's going to be going up on the website. She'll be up on the Salem Willow Witchery for a week. And then after that, she will be listed on eBay. As usual, if you want her but can't really afford her right now, we can still make installments as long as she's on the Witchery. So that is it for Sophia and myself, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.